Kieran and Megan are granddaughters of a very great friend of ours, and I'm sure she'll be very proud to see them here today. I also welcome Ed. Ed, some of you will know, we met many years ago when we were gigging on a cruise ship, in fact in 2001, the week after 9/11.
Right.
And we got friendly, and we've been to visit him in Spokane many times. Spokane's about 200 miles east of Seattle. Ed flew in from Seattle to Gatwick yesterday lunchtime, and he flies back tomorrow. That's almost as stupid as me going to see David Byrne at the Fox Theatre in Spokane 5 years ago on a 3-day trip, but you've beaten me, bastard. So Ed may have come the furthest, but the person I've known the longest is Ian from Pilgrim Grammar School. We go back to about 1970. We were great friends. We played hockey together for the school and Bedford Town, and along with Simon, who can't be here today, we were the founder members of the Pilgrims Hockey Club, which played hockey in the summer evening leagues and Sunday winter. Sunday winter hockey usually ended up in a curry house, which means my Sunday evenings haven't changed much in about 45 years. While I was at grammar school, one of the sports, because it was it's grammar school, the winter sport option was rugby, which I was having none of. One of the options was horse riding, so I went horse riding one Wednesday afternoon, which I really enjoyed. Unfortunately, my parents couldn't afford for me to do that every week, so I got a job at the stables, where I'd spend the weekends and evenings mucking out and carting hay and stuff like that. And I hadn't really given any thoughts to what I was going to do with my life. And then that fateful day came, and the vet came to the yard. And I can tell you now, his name was Jim Woodger, sadly no longer with us. I don't know what it was that impressed me most about Jim, was whether he had a really nice car, or whether he could put his arm all the way up a horse's arse. But from that day onwards, I spent all my time going to the vet surgery, where I'd clean out kennels and cages, wipe down consult tables, go on visits. And this was a real James Herriot practice. Poultry, dairy, beef, pigs, sheep, and the icing on the cake, they had the contract to do the game at Woburn Safari Park. So as a kid, I would go behind the scenes to see lions and tigers dart gunned, and I'd hold them while they were stitched up or whatever was done to them, which was pretty neat. So it became pretty obvious all I wanted to do was be a vet. So I applied to the Royal Veterinary College and got an offer of 3 grades and set about working really hard. Unfortunately, obviously I didn't study hard enough, because only one of my grades was good enough. But there wasn't any thought about it. The following day I'm in the headmaster's office asking to resit the upper 6th again, which I did. And so I then found myself in the heatwave summer of 1976, when we had the Minister for Drought, Dennis Howell, and I found myself going to the sports barn, which was the exam hall, on consecutive days, knowing that only 2 grade A's would get me into vet school. But obviously the heatwave affected the examiners, because I got 2 grade A's. And in the October of 1976, I found myself going to the Royal Veterinary College in Royal College Street, Camden Town, University of London, where I met these wonderful people who we've known now for 40 odd years, and they're here. We have reunions every year. We're still great friends. Vet school was hard work. It was 5 years of lectures, 9 to 5, with Wednesday afternoons off for sport. But we did have some fun. And as our year of 70 produced 6 married couples from within it, obviously some people had more fun than others. Well, I can't. And I'm delighted to say that 5 of those couples are here today, I think. And 4 of those husbands of those couples went on to greatness in our profession, obviously due to their wives. We have a past president of the British Cattle Veterinary Association, 2 past presidents of the British Small Animal Veterinary Association, and, bow down, the current Chief Veterinary Officer of the United Kingdom, CBE. Who I'm pleased to say I share the house with in Hampstead for 2 years, which is obviously why he achieved such greatness.
Don't answer that.
You know, the profession has been pretty kind to me. What was I going to say? Yeah, it's been a big thing in my part of my life, and I'm going to have to wave goodbye to it. Even when we were on holiday, whether we were cycling in Croatia or skiing in Vale, if we came across a veterinary surgeon, we'd go inside, introduce ourselves, have a look around, see what they charged, how they did things, see if I could get a job for Carolyn, you know. And a final little poignant end to my little time at Beach House. About 2 months ago, in the middle of the sale, when everything was going absolutely crazy, the practice received 3 or 4 calls a day from a woman insisting on speaking to Graham Campbell and only Graham Campbell. In the end, Carolyn took the call and said, look, can I help you? Because I'm his wife and I am a partner in the business. And she said, well, I'm a solicitor and I want to speak to Graham Campbell about a client. Oh, shit, get out the insurance forms, shit. Anyway, I rang her and she said to me, a client of the practice had died at Christmas and had left me £2,000. This client I had known for 30 odd years. He gave me a bottle every Christmas. He always had a load of dogs. He'd walk around, you'd see him around Thornhill with all these dogs. And I had become aware that he'd been, was very ill, because around Christmas time, Second Chance Animal Rescue in Mansbridge were bringing his dogs in because the poor chap was in Moor Green, seeing out his last days. And I'm glad to say I did go and visit him. And not long afterwards he passed away. And Second Chance rehomed all his dogs. Now, I know this gentleman wouldn't have had a great deal of money and had no relatives, so it's really touching that he left me £2,000. I've been so busy that I haven't had a chance to think about what I'm going to do with this money, but I will in one day, Mr. Gregory, do something proper with it. But I would just like to say that Karen and I have given a separate £2,000 to Second Chance Animal Rescue. Thank you. So after a couple of years back at home, I moved down here, and the first thing I did was to join Trojans, where I met all you lovely people, well, some of you, and from there I was introduced to Bidden and Woolston Round Table, where I met so many more lovely people who remain such great friends. We moved here about 23 years ago, and I'm pleased to say that the architect and builder of our house are here today, and thank you very much. Still great friends. We won't mention the flat roof. And not long after moving here, the pub at the end of the road fell into disrepute, and so we found ourselves going to the Woodman, which is the next village down, where we met the Upham crowd, now the Bishop's Waltham crowd. And from there we met Chris and Ian, who were there playing dominoes one day with his late father, and so I got introduced to the Eagle Star Golf Society, and from there, trips to Turkey and Spain and all the other great things we do, trips to see Bruce Springsteen, and I thank you all for coming along as well. Finally, family, of which I have none here today. My parents are no longer with us. I think if they could be here today, they would wonder if seeing all you fabulous people, you talented people, guys that fly in from Seattle for the weekend, senior civil servants, whatever, that this would possibly be the result of when me and my 2 brothers and my parents shared a 3-bed semi-detached house on a housing estate in Bedford. I think they'd be pretty amazed. My brothers can't be here today. I suppose an invite would have helped. Now, about 32 years ago, right now, Carolyn started bringing her rabbit to my surgery. Yeah, I'll leave out the Deborah story because you've all heard that so many times. It's not that funny. And on the 15th of next month, 32 years ago, we had our first date. And on the 31st of this month, am I getting this right? On the 31st of this month, 26 years ago, we got married. And some of you were at our wedding, and amazingly you're here today. And probably most amazingly is that Karen's here today. So. Now, a few years ago at a gathering of our relative families, one of my brothers did say to me that Karen had married really well. Yes. But I'd just like to say that on the day that Karen became a Campbell, more importantly, I became a member of the Johnston, Ormond, Wood, Hawkins and Ramsey families. And I want to thank you all very much for letting me be part of a proper family. I won't say normal. And I just finally like to say that every year I share my birthday with the lovely Rachel. And also a day after me, Alan Burfey had his 60th, who's here today. And we had enjoyed a very nice night at the Brushmakers with him. And that's all I've got to say. So please carry on enjoying the afternoon, the band, the food and the drink, and thank you all for coming.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Superb.